I'm online with Tom Watkins, and I met Tom at several trading seminars over the last few months. And Tom is a customer of EdgeRater, and he always has some great questions whenever I meet him. And I sort of forget a little bit about how people start using the software and the types of questions that they have. And so I thought it would be interesting if Tom could ask a few of the questions that he's had over the months, and I could answer those, and hopefully that will help everybody else with getting started with the program. So, hi Tom.
Hi Chris.
How are you doing today?
Doing fine. You ready for my first question?
I'm ready for the first question. Let's get going.
Okay, Chris. Sometimes I get a little frustrated here with trying to set EdgeRater up, and look forward to having a concise video that allows me to review and learn how to do something specific. My first question is, Chris, with EdgeRater, how do you set up and save, how do I set up and save a personalized chart configuration I prefer to use, adding certain indicators, say the 8 and 21 EMA, the DPO, that's the Detrended Price Oscillator, and the MACD.
Yeah, thanks Tom. I'll show you this in the security chart tab. That's at the bottom of the screen. You'll see there are four main tabs of the application: template, security chart, entries and exits, and trade simulation. And the security chart tab is the main way to see charts that's built into the program. You can see charts by double clicking on signals as well, but I won't get into that right now. When you first look at the security chart tab, you'll notice that the chart may not be set up the way you want it, and it will just be whatever you had it set to last. So when you first come in here, you may have something like the code blue layout set in, and that might not be what you want. So I'll talk about how to rearrange some of the things on starting from a basic chart, and we'll look at code blue. It's a little bit more complicated, but this way I'll be able to remove some of the indicators and add some others and some different chart areas. So this chart is divided into three chart areas. There's the main area at the top, and then there's more than three areas here. There's the main area at the top, there's the bongo area here, there's a force index here, pocket pivots here, and kahuna area down here. These areas can be selected individually. So the one that's currently selected has this highlights bar, salmon colored highlight bar, and to select a different area you just click within that area. Now you see that the bongo area has the highlight bar. Whatever area has the highlight bar is selected and then will be affected by these buttons up here that say chart settings, chart area. I can then start to remove some of these areas or move them up and down in the order. So let me remove bongo ribbon, let me remove the kahuna, let me remove the pocket pivot area and the force index area. So now I'm left with just one main chart area, and this has a number of indicators on it already. To see which indicators are on there and the settings, you go over to the left hand side and look under area properties. And here you can see that this has a main indicator, and main actually is the candle, open, high, low, close. It has a volume overlay down at the bottom here, and it has a moving average overlay with 3 simple moving averages and 2 exponential moving averages. So you can change the parameters by selecting so if I wanted EMA2, which is a 65 EMA right now, I could change that to a 70 EMA, and it immediately updates on the chart as well, which is quite a nice feature. Now to remove this whole set of moving averages, I can just click on the X over here, and all of those will be gone at once. I can also remove the volume, the overlay of volume. And note that the volume overlay is set to scale on the left axis and not on the price axis. That's important because if you scale volume overlay on the right axis, and then I'll double click on the axis here, and you'll notice that volume obviously totally swamps price, so it's not going to show you both price and the volume. So I want to scale it on the left axis, and double clicking on any axis will set it into an auto zoom mode, and that's something I should mention too. So we can take out the volume, and I will get just to this basic chart. So now we'll try and build the chart that you want to build. And you mentioned that you were interested in the 8 and the 21 EMA. So first of all, I'll go to the script library, and in the library there is a heading called System Indicators, and these are all indicators delivered with the system that you can use for putting onto a chart. And you can sort them. If you click on the name heading, they're sorted alpha numerically. And then how do you get these indicators onto a chart? And there's a couple of ways of doing that. If you double click on an indicator, and we'll take for example the moving average, so let me highlight one of these indicators and I'll click on M, and it will go right down to moving average. So for a moving average, you want to put that into the main chart area, so you can just drag it and drop it over into the main area, and you could make this a 20 period, and this is a simple moving average. To get an exponential moving average, that is under E, so we go up to the E's, exponential moving average. I can drag that over onto the chart area and drop it there. You'll see on the left in the area properties that we've now got the moving average and we've got the exponential moving average. I can change the period of the exponential moving average to make it a 21, which was one of the requirements you just mentioned. And I'll remove the simple moving average completely because we want actually two exponential moving averages. And we want an 8 and a 21. So I'll change one of these to 8 and the other to 21. Okay. The other way of getting a indicator into the chart is to double click on it, but if you double click it will create a brand new chart area and put it in there, and that's what you're going to want for something that belongs in a sub area, so something like the Detrended Price Oscillator. So what I'll do here is I'll double click on DPO. It's created me a new chart area and it's put the DPO indicator in that chart area. Now that has become the selected area, you can tell by the salmon colored highlight. And so now on the left hand side under area properties I see that it is DPO. So I'll show you a third way then of getting DPO into the chart area, and that is, let me remove it first. Now remember, if I double click on DPO it's going to create a new area and put it in there. I don't want to do that, so I'll remove that. This time I want to just drag DPO over to this sub area and drop it over here. So now that would be the third way of getting the chart indicator into a chart area. So once you've set the chart up the way you want, and you probably want to have overlay of volume back in the main area, so let me put that back in. That will be under O for overlay volume. And notice when I drag this over to the main area, we've got the problem again with the scaling, so I want to make sure I scale this on the left axis, and we're good to go. Now if you want to save this, because this is you've now built a chart that you want to see frequently, you hit the save layout, and I'll call this Tom DPO. Click on OK, and so that now will appear under layouts. So on the right hand side there's a little tab called layouts, and if I open that up there's a bunch of built-in layouts, and then the layouts that you create yourself are under my layouts. And so here I've got Tom DPO, so whenever I select that I get this exact same layout back. And the other thing I mentioned about auto scaling is a useful thing to know, because if you hover over the y-axis on either side, the cursor turns into this up and down arrow. So this lets me do a manual scaling operation, so I can start to scale this axis the way I want it. And that's useful if you're trying to zoom in on a particular point on the chart. But if you leave the scaling set to manual, what can happen is as you scroll back through time, price is now below this level here of 103, so it's not showing up on the chart because I've got manual scaling set in. So what I can do is, to get it back to auto scaling, I double click on that axis, and now when I scroll through the chart, the scaling changes so that it fits in the maximum amount of data for that indicator. In this case, it's the price indicator. So does that answer your question, Tom?
Chris, it does. That's very helpful and very comprehensive. Let's say that I wanted to put a MACD, superimpose it in the window where the DPO is. Can you do that?
Yeah, Tom. To get another indicator into a window, you actually just drag it and drop it into an existing window. So if we go back over to the script library, and then I look down for MACD, and I know that's under M for a MACD. And also, bear in mind you've got the scans area here, and you've also got indicators. So I'm looking for it under indicators. So I'll select M for MACD, and I'll find it right here. And I can just drag this over into, superimpose it in the DPO area. And then I might want to make sure to scale MACD on the left. And so now we have MACD superimposed on top of DPO. And of course you would resave that.
One more question. Sue McLaren likes to do the MACD in a special way without the histogram and without the zero axis, and she likes blue and red for the fast and slow. Can you do that?
Yeah, we've got, so the standard MACD indicator that is called just MACD is the standard indicator that most people are familiar with, and that gives you the histogram and the signal line and the MACD line. If we don't want to use that, we can use I have an indicator in here that I built for Sue, and Sue or anybody else can build their own indicators, but this is something that was put in the system because Sue and people who follow her are very familiar with that way of displaying the MACD without the zero line and without the histogram. So if I look under my indicators and I'm looking for, in this case, MD, so everything with MD underscore is to do with Sue MACD's indicators and the way that she likes to see them. So I'll put MD underscore MACD. I found that right here, and I'll drag that over to the chart area, and I'll scale that on the left axis. And that's been configured so that it doesn't have the histogram, it doesn't have the zero line, and the MACD line is in blue and the signal line is in red.
That's terrific, Chris. I don't really have any further questions. It's been extremely helpful, shows me to do lots of things I didn't know how to do, and it doesn't look like it's that hard.
Great, yeah, thanks, Tom. And I know you have saved up a few questions over the months, and we'll get back on and we'll continue this series of Tom's questions. So I hope that people find this helpful. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank you, Chris.